Okay, if you've been working on a book and you want to get it out there but you don't have a deal with a big trade publisher, what do you do? Now, I've already talked about self-publishing, like DIY self-publishing, which is really hard work and it really sucks. So, in early 2007, what I was doing with my first book was I was having batches of the book printed up, and that meant that every now and then I would have to fork out thousands of dollars to have another batch printed, and then those copies would sell over time until I ran out, and then thousands of dollars for another batch, which was not fun. And in early 2007, I was due to do another batch, and basically I just didn't have the money for it at the time. So I went looking for an alternative. What I wanted was a company where I could go with my book and say, this is the file, I want you to print it, and all of that sort of thing, and take care of it. And I found a whole bunch of places called vanity publishers, which are kind of approaching that. A typical deal is you'll go to a vanity publisher and you pay them $600, or whatever, and they will print up your book, give you 10 copies, and they'll issue you the ISBN, the barcode, take care of all of that sort of thing. And you can then order as many copies of the book as you want from them at a discounted price, so that you can then get it into bookshops or whatever. And they don't care what they'll publish. You could go to them with the biggest pile of crap ever, pay them $600, and you'll get it back as a professional-looking book. But that's part of the problem. The reputation of vanity publishers is really, really bad because they'll do that. As a result, bookshops don't like carrying them, and it's really hard to get books from vanity publishers into regular bookshops. So I went looking for more alternatives. I wanted to figure out other ways to do it. Anyway, I found a mob in the US. I think they're based in the US. I don't actually know, and from my point of view, it doesn't matter. Called Lulu. And I'm not being an advertisement for Lulu, but anyway, they were very cool people. What they let you do is, it's a bit like vanity publishing. You go to them and log in, you set up an account, and you can upload your book in, like, as a PDF or something. And then you can order copies of it, and they do print on demand. So if you order one copy, their machines spit out one copy. They print it, it binds it, it gets packaged, and it gets sent off to you, and you get one copy, which is cool. And if you want 100 copies, you order 100 copies. They print 100, which means there are no upfront costs. It's purely a matter of how many you want, that's how many you pay for. And they also take care of a couple of other things. One of the things I didn't mention about DIY self-publishing is that, in Australia at least, it is pretty much impossible to DIY self-publish and get your book listed on Amazon or any of those online places, because they have a policy that they will not carry a book that doesn't have a US-based distributor. And I'm in Australia, so if I publish as an Australian self-published author, you can't get it on Amazon. You're stuffed. With a place like Lulu, because they have offices in the US, they are listed as the publisher of note, of publisher of record of the book. The ISBN is part of their block and things like that, so they can then get you listed on Amazon and all of those online stores, which is great. So what I did was, for the second edition of my first book, which was How to Build a Website and Stay Sane, I did a revision and uploaded it to Lulu and ordered proof copies and things like that, and the end result came back, and it's actually pretty good. It's a real book. The quality is quite good. With the first edition of this, I really wanted it to be something that conveyed a lot of value in terms of its physical presentation. So I had it printed on a matte low acid paper, and the internal print was full color. It was an expensive book. The original was $70 or something for the book. With the second edition, because you've got limited printing options with Lulu, I had to go for just the regular cream paper with the black and white internals and things. But the end result is pretty good, and it's now $19 because it's so much cheaper to print in that way. Sometime later, I did another book, which was Quick Start Guide to Google AdWords, and because things had gone so well with Lulu the first time, I did this the same way. So once again, this book is published through Lulu. It's got the ISBN and everything issued. You can buy it through Amazon. You order it, walk into a bookshop and say, I want to buy that. It's in the database. They can look it up and order it. It's all good. So I highly recommend if you are at that that indie band stage where you're doing demos in your garage and burning CDs to give away to friends and at gigs, if you're at the author equivalent of that stage, this is a really cool thing to do. Write, do something, and go to someone like Lulu and do it, self-publish it through through an assisted self-publishing system, and get your books out there, and then you can work on from there, because that is a step that can then open the doors to the trade publishers. Once they can see some kind of a track record, you've got something you can point to and say, well, I did this. And also, this raises an interesting point, an important point. It's a mindset issue. A lot of people think of stigma associated with self-publishing. So the fact is, I was self-published, then trade published, and then I've done assisted self-published and assisted self-published after that. And I'm not ashamed of the self-published stuff. From a band's point of view, a new band or a new musician, when they're just starting out, they're really proud of the work they're doing, and you're expected to do your own demos and things like that. But there's somehow this concept in the writing world that if you self-publish, there's stigma attached to it. If you can't get a trade publisher to carry your books right from the start, right up front, then you can't be any good. But then musicians can't get Virgin Records to sign them when they're still sitting in the garage either. It's a matter of working up to it and recognizing that you have to go through that process and gain the experience. So I highly recommend going for assisted self-publishing if you're really wanting to get started and just get something out there.